to 11. It's a program where we try to educate and inform the listening public. We talk about topics that basically affect all of us. We give information that is absolutely necessary. We just think and talk about everything, and that's basically what the program is all about. It's a program that you sometimes can call in. Most of the time, we have people that we have discussions where you can get that information that is absolutely necessary. And it's like I said, sometimes we open the lines, but sometimes when we open the line, we tend to stray away from the topic that we want to discuss, and we are topic based. That's basically what our conversation is. I'm your host, usually Sandra Quilly Atherton. It's a beautiful Friday morning in St Kitts. The wind is blowing in every single direction. The sun is out in all its glory. And moods are high. Why? Because we are loaded with vitamin D3, and I think that is one of the mood vitamins. It's also one of the vitamins that help with immunity. We know that COVID-19 is a reality. So therefore, I would ask those of you who work in air-conditioned offices to step out sometimes for 5-10 minutes and bask in the sunshine. People pay for this. Why can't we just enjoy it? It's free. Utilize it. It's good for our immunity. COVID-19 would continue to do what it's doing for us here. That is staying at bay. We have just one case I think that we have right now. And if we continue to do what we're doing, eat, hydrate, eat right, hydrate yourself, bask in our vitamin C, that's the sunshine. Sorry, vitamin D3, that is the sunshine vitamin, the vitamin that is responsible for immunity and also moods. We know that here again, moods is an issue. People are protesting. Everybody is getting all worked up. I suppose people are facing the hardships and the effect of COVID-19, but yet still we have to be grateful for the people that we have at the helm. They're doing a very, very good job. We are going to have situations, we know that for a fact. These are things that we have no control over. We just hope that the people who are in control would do what they're supposed to do. And we can say, thank God for who we have now, because the government is doing a real good job. People can't please everybody. There's some people who are going to be very irate and others who are going to be satisfied. But I know normally what we don't do is that we don't prepare for a rainy day. And I think that is one of the characteristics I find that we have here in St Kitts and Nevis is that we become too dependent because government is always wanting to give handouts. We have to sometimes take on our own responsibility, realizing that we are responsible for us and our families' well-being. That is who we are and what we're supposed to do. So when we work, you have to save a little bit. My mother used to always say that, save a little bit for rainy day. You don't know when there's going to be an emergency. Right now, we have a very, very, very long emergency. We are feeling the effects of COVID-19 economically. One of the good things that our health care system is not overwhelmed. So we just have to deal with the economic issues. Like I said, the government is doing a very good job of juggling, because we since work that I thought would have been put on the back burners, that is road works, infrastructure developments. I thought those were going back on the back burner, but they're still going. So it means that something is really happening. People are shopping like normal. Everybody's out to work, with the exception of the hospitality industry, but people are so creative. We have food in abundance on the sideways and the byways, all variety of foods you can buy. Everybody becomes chef overnight, but somebody, you just have to do what you have to do in order to survive. And I believe in that. And I, like I said, think it's one of the places that I would always live for the rest of my life, because we know how to do it. We know how to make adjustments, and we just have to adapt to certain situations. And we have to give God glory and praise and thank Him for looking over us and making sure that we are secured and that we have the basic necessities for living. And I think that's some of the things that we overlook sometimes. Life is very simple. We make it very difficult because we want too much. Things that are not necessary, we always crave for. Those are the things that get us into big trouble, because we overspend buying the unnecessary things and we underspend when we have to buy the necessary things. And I think that's what caused the complications that we have. Well, this morning, I don't have a guest because she's been here too often, according to Jade. So she's my co-host. We've been having some great conversations, and I think, it needs to continue. I've always wanted a program like this, where we move away from the politics and the other dramas that we have here, and we see how we can talk about situations that really affect us on a day-to-day basis, and we have conditions that are not overlooked, And we don't understand that these are the conditions that create the negative impact on our society. Negative, should I say impact? But, they go on. People don't look at them. They're not recognized. And it's like it festers into, and then when it becomes a big problem is when we start paying attention to it. So these are things that we want to look at. My co-host is Jamal Huggins. Jamal has been here. She's a native of St Kitts and Nevis, but she spent most of her life in Canada and North America. I suppose when you have talent like she has, you go out and you try to see if you can spread your wings and see what how you can benefit from it. But home is always home for you, right, Jamal?
Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. We had a conversation last week, and my phones have been ringing off the hook. People are asking, I've been asking whether or not we could continue the conversation. It's unfortunate, though, sometimes we don't open the lines because we veer off topic, and we're always starting late, though, because we're supposed to start at 10 o'clock. And so sometimes we really run out of time. But I might try something today that we'll allow one or two calls, people who want to call in and give, information about their own situation, because people want to talk about their situation. And so we'll open the lines for a bit, and then we'll have control over how long we're going to have people talk about it. But we were talking about cyberbullying and the effects that it have on an individual. I'm going to give you a little story. I myself, I go on Facebook now and again. Sometimes I go on and I would read what people are writing, and it irritates me to the point where sometimes I would comment. You see people air their dirty linens, and people try to look and put all kind of falsehood on Facebook. And people would read and not have an understanding of the fact that people sometimes try to demean you or defame your character. And they would take it not realizing the hardships that you have had to go through, having to deal with it, and then now it's an untruth and you have to deal with it. Like this morning, about 20-something years ago, I was working for this company, and it was a foreign company, one of those offshore company, and they wanted to bring their own people into work. And one morning I reported to work, and then all of a sudden I saw the owner there. And I asked, I didn't know what was happening. And then there was a lawyer there, and I didn't know what was happening. And then they said, the company think that you're stealing money. This is a business that we never take money at the company. We use credit card only. It was online. But Kittitians don't know that. It's not something I would go on and talk. But I wanted to have an Oprah Winfrey moment this morning. So I decided to tell my truth. But it's not really, I don't really care how people think about it. But sometimes you have to say, I'm just going to say the effects of it. It's just that. And, of course, police is going to get involved. You're going to be arrested. People are going to say you're stealing money. I had not a problem because I know who I was. And I know who I am, and I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. But this morning it showed up on Facebook where somebody, we referred to. And you know what upset me? You know what really upset me? Because we think it's the ordinary person that go on Facebook and make these comments. But when you look at people in offices who are vying for positions, and all of us hope to be one of these days the Prime Minister or the Premier of Nevis. We hope to be one of these days. But yet still, we have, under false pretense and fake IDs, they go on and they bring these stories up. And people reading, not having an understanding of who you are, would make it their truth. But I really don't care. But it's not about me. It's about the other person. The people who are not in a position to defend themselves like me, are people who would hear these things and know that it was a pain, it pushed them into depression some years ago, and would take that moment and want to kill themselves. And people do not understand the dangers of going onto Facebook, on social media, and trying to demean people, trying to break their character. But like I always tell people, I'm built of diamond, so I wasn't built to break. It's very difficult to break me. But it was just one of those moments. We talked about it last week, about the effects that it has, and how society views these things as drama and stories, and they go out and they continue to talk about it, not realizing the problems that it would cause to the people who they're talking about.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what we often don't realize is just the tiniest contribution that gives a flame to a fire like that can destroy a person's reputation. And the sad part is that the people doing that, the problem isn't with you, the problem is with them. And because they need this validation that what they're doing is okay, they make it public. Otherwise, they would just come to you, to your face, and tell you exactly what they thought about you if it was
Cowards,
just
they are
about
cowards,
you.
yeah.
But because they want to create this stage where everyone else becomes like-minded and views you the same way, they publicize it. And the unfortunate thing is that the public doesn't know you. The entire public doesn't know your background. They don't know your character. So then the more, I always find the more salacious a story, the faster it is to spread. No one wants to hear that Sandra went into a store and took up a candy bar that she could walk back into an hour later and pay $5 for. But to say she stole $100,000, that now becomes a much bigger story to spread.
Yeah.
We are so quick to question when we hear good things about one another. But the moment something passes our ear that's negative about the other person, all of a sudden we gravitate to that as though it's truth without having any proof. I'm the type of person that loves proof. So most times when a story comes to me, my question is always, well, how exactly do you know this? How did you come by this information? And you will more than likely hear somebody told somebody who told somebody else. By the time that trickles down to you, that story has become so convoluted, the waters have been so muddied that you don't know where to dive for truth in that pool.
Yeah. But you see, like I said, and people don't understand the severity of the severity of depression and other things that these falsehood would cause.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, I know a friend, a girl. She is, and I had to tell her, listen, it's not everything that you hear you have to listen to, because people would say things and you just want to prove yourself. Because there are a lot of people who wants to prove themselves in society. But I always tell people, live your natural self, live your truth, live who you are. We are all entitled to making mistakes, because you know what? The people who points and the people who are throwing stones, they're doing worse than you. And I always tell people, when people start to point fingers at you, it's because they want to hide what they themselves are doing. And but there are a lot of other people who doesn't understand that. It's dangerous. It's for me, I don't think that people know, or they don't care. We live in a society where people are so evil. They just want to break down. You, just like you said, nobody's going to hear about the good things that somebody would have done. They always want to hear about the negative. The people who have done great things, and they're humans, and one day they would have made that mistake. And people forgot all the good things that they would have done and would just focus on that one bad thing that the person would have done and make it a story. And they don't understand why it happened and whether or not it happened, because I never had to prove myself, because I'm not the kind of person going to go around and tell anybody what that's not true.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to believe, that go ahead, be my guest. I know who I am, and I know what I'm capable of doing. And if I did it because I wanted to do it.
Yes.
The consequences I would have to suffer. And that's why I always tell people, people have to suffer their consequences. It's not that you going out and talking about it. What is it going to do? I mean, it's going to make people start looking at you differently. What about the positive way in which you would have impacted somebody else? You think that negative lie is going to stop that impaction or change the way that you would have done what you would have done in society? And, I see women lose themselves because their stories plastered on social media.
Yes, it's like you said, we can be so many different things, so many variants of great things, positive things, and still be minimized and defined by one moment, one mistake in our lives. And people forget that none of us are infallible.
It's true.
We're all just one bad choice away from making a mistake that can ruin our reputation or create a scandal around our name. And I think it comes down to compassion. There's a reason why I think that there is definitely a correlation between why people have been acting so unempathetic, because it's the same reason they bully online. Social media creates this virtual space that I personally think makes people so comfortable with the virtual world. And when it comes to the real world, you find nowadays people become very uncomfortable having one-on-one conversations with real people, connecting with real people in a real way, because they've become so used to this connection via tapping a bunch of keys. So it's taking away from the opportunity to really be able to connect with people on a human level. When you have to look someone in the face and look them in the eye and see their pain and feel their pain, it creates a completely different dynamic. But sitting behind a computer screen and not having to face that person, you feel like you're invincible and you can literally say or do anything.
Yeah, and they're cowards. I always believe cowards, especially hiding behind fake profiles, make you even more of a coward. If you want to say something to somebody, if you want to help, because if I find somebody has a problem, instead of going to social media, you come to the person if you really want to help. But it's obvious what the intention is. The intention is to defame, and demean and hurt. And it's sad when people can take that kind of route. When I go on social media and I see people starting to do that, it's the only time I will start commenting. Why can't we be otherwise? Why we always have to look at people's mistakes? There's some people, they're not mistakes, but they're choices, because they have a right to choose whatever they want to be in life. Why you have to look at people's choices and make it a problem for you? People have a right. We have that freedom to choose to do whatever we want to do, to be whatever we want to be. I'm not being dishonest, because I don't condone dishonesty, but there are some people who do just what they have to do. I look at a situation one time where this little boy was stealing. I was in the shop and he was stealing, and they said it was something that he did all the time. But look at what he was taking. He would come in the shop, he would hide a tin of Vienna sausage in his shirt, or stick something in his pocket, food-wise. And when they held him there, I said, no, please, it's a little boy. Why would you want to call the police? And look at what he's taking. He's taking food stuff. It shows that he's hungry. Why not do this? Find out why he's stealing this stuff, understand his situation, and try to stop him from stealing by somebody contributing to him. So when he comes in, give him a little packet, because he's looking for food, so that he can go home and share with his siblings, because that's what he said. My mother can't afford to buy these things, and my sister said she wanted some Vienna sausage, so that's why I took the Vienna sausage, so she can have Vienna sausage. We are privileged. A lot of us are privileged to be able to have these things that are, women fancy, but we don't understand what other people are going through. We waste things at our homes. We things that we take for granted is what people think as treasures in their lifetime, in their lives, and we don't understand. And that's why we're so quick to judge and look and see what people are doing, not understanding their situation.
I think that I'm not on social media, and I think I made, like you said, life is about choices. And I made a conscious decision a long time ago not to put myself in a position to seek out an audience unless I was doing something business-wise or I had a product to promote or something like that. Because what I find is that if there isn't an audience for the negative things, there wouldn't be a reason to keep putting it out there. But the more you put it out there, the more that people buy into it, the more people feed into it, the more they have this space to continue producing this kind of negative information about other people, because there's no one messaging back, there's no one combating this, there's no one challenging these people and saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You have this platform. Why don't you try using it for something good? Why don't you try uplifting people instead of tearing them down? Because the last thing someone going through a devastating experience needs is for that to be publicized. Because we don't know sometimes what people have to deal with behind closed doors. Someone might lose their job, and you decide to put that all over the internet. We don't know how that person's children are looking at them at home. We don't know how that wife or husband is looking at their spouse at home. We don't know how defeated they feel about themselves. We don't know how disappointed in themselves they might be feeling. And that kind of attention could be the thing that just puts that person so deep into a state of depression that something that would have taken them maybe a few weeks, a few months to come back from is now taking them years to recover from.
Look at a young girl who made that choice of videotaping herself, and next thing you know, it's on social media. Somebody took it up and they put it on social media. These are young people who would have lost, have not yet established a career. They haven't started working for themselves. And people would think that it is newsworthy or entertainment to take a situation like that and put it on social media. And you know what upsets me, though? It is not the person who put it on social media, but people who subscribe to these things, who want to see them, and then they would share it to others. So you have these videos that can destroy somebody's life, their life, because these are young people. I know of young people who parents had to ship them overseas because they could not deal with the problems that the video showing would have caused. And people don't understand the severity of the problems. And so they continue to peddle. The ones who carried out, they're the ones who are responsible. Some girl going to her boyfriend's phone and see a conversation or see a video and they put it on Facebook because they want to hurt the other young woman. And we as adults, we look at it as, and it upsets me. You see young girls are getting involved, young, underage girls are getting involved in activities that they thought they didn't even know that other people would have seen. Although, and wanting guidance, because if they were guided properly, they would not have done that. So we haven't looked at the fact that we would have failed these young girls. Mothers would have failed them, friends and families would have failed them because of the fact that they didn't have the information that they needed. They got caught up in doing these things. And we, the society who would have failed them in the first instance, we are the ones who are promoting and pushing and publicizing their mistakes. It is the hypocrisy that I find as us as individuals, where we always want to point fingers at people's shortcomings or their failures or their mistake, that one time not thinking mistake, or that mistake, it's not a mistake because of the conditions that they found themselves in and had to make that decision. And we take it not understanding the situation, and we take it and make it news or entertainment, and we sit there and we laugh.
And I think that what we don't often realize is that even though a lot of these young women might be making a conscious decision to do what they're doing, some of them are so young that you know that mentally, psychologically speaking, they have no idea what comes after that. They think it's very easy to say, I don't care if. I don't care what they say or what happens if. It's quite another thing to have to be put in that fire and have to deal with that and the pressures that come with it. And I don't think that they even understand the pressures and the hurt and the pain and the shame that actually comes from that. I had to, a few years ago, send out a general message to all of my contacts at the time, expressing to them in the most polite way possible, please do not include me when you choose to propagate this type of information, because I am a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a friend, I'm a cousin, I'm a niece, and if that were to happen to one of my relatives, if that were to happen to me, I wouldn't want that to be blasted all over the place. I would want to deal with that within the privacy of my home, within the family. So it doesn't make me feel good when I see people so excited, and it's like their fingers just are so trigger happy when these things come to their phone. They can't wait to share it with everyone else. And to what end? Because someone else's devastation makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, because you can say in that moment, at least it's not me. Whatever I'm doing wrong, this person just did something worse. And that's what it is. It's self-validation and just self-aggrandizing, and it's just really sad because the pain that we cause in the process goes so unseen and it goes so unheard that because of the silence around it, that's why I think it continues, because people are crying in silence instead of doing it publicly. And I think that if more people stepped forward and stood up for the rights of these young people when these things happened, I think that maybe we would see some turnaround. And like you said earlier, we're responsible as a society because we've failed to guide these young people in the direction that would have caused them to be able to not make perfect decisions, but at least make clearer decisions and better decisions. They'll still make mistakes, but as a society, we should be like a blanket for each other. The moment one falls, we feel like we have a cushion that softens that blow. But instead, it's a bunch of pitted rocks and stones at the bottom, and flaming, scorching icicles and things like that at the bottom. The moment you hit the ground, it just hurts. And when you're there, you feel like you're now being kicked even further. And I think that's the most painful part, because when you have nowhere to turn, you just want to escape. And if you don't have the opportunity to leave the country, you might just decide that you want to leave this world.
Yeah.
And that is when this turning into a tragedy becomes the worst thing possible, because then you see everyone sit back and go, well, I didn't know, and if it was me, I would have never killed myself, or I would have never done this. But we never know. Until we're put in that position, we never know how we're going to deal with pain.
That is so true. And you know what, Judge Jamal, I mean, we said people have you have the freedom to choose. You have the freedom to exercise whatever choices you want to make. Mm-hmm. And so when I make that choice, that's my choice. The young girl or young man, it was something that they wanted to do. Who are us to judge them? And that's what we always do. Every time we see something, thinking that, okay, you go and you have the biggest voice because, I would never do that. Hell yeah, I didn't see when you did it. And that's the whole thing, because we can hide our faults, or because we think that nobody can see or nobody knew, because when you did it, nobody was there. I mean, you can take the opportunity now to start to demean and bring down and point fingers at other people. Not mistakes, because a person make a choice. Yes. It becomes a mistake when the public decides, they should not have done it, they made a mistake. No, I made a conscious decision to do what I wanted to do, whether it was for entertainment or because it was something that I had to do, or I felt with the information that I had at that time, it was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But yet we would sit around and we become judge, jury, and everything else, and decide to sentence, they should not have done that. Yeah. What about you when you were doing it? Because none of us are perfect. No. All of us would have made a mistake at one point in time or the other. And we have to stop trying to demean and bring down and break down. And some people have, because some people are very vindictive. Mm-hmm. Some people have vendettas that they have to settle. They can't do it on their own, so they go to Facebook because they want others' opinion. And people not having the right or the whole story would start judging you. And that was the intention in the first place. Yes. When you took it to social media, because you're giving part of the story and people not having all of the information starting to judge you. And that is one of the reasons why early o'clock I told myself I was never built to break. People's opinion is their opinion. Just like I have a right to my opinion, everybody has a right to their opinion, and people have a right to feel what they want to feel about you. You don't have to go around and proving to the world who you are, because at the end of the day, the world does not define you. And when you have, because, a lot of us want to be appreciated. There's some people who likes to know that, people appreciate them for the simplest things that they do. And that is why people go out in public. Like, even when you look at when you have the COVID situation, look at what the politicians did. They want people to appreciate them. They went out and gave out little foods and always ready for that photo op, because they want people to see that they're doing good. And that is the biggest problem. You should never try to do good in public. Do good in silence. Do good because you want it to do good, not because you want people to think that you're a good person, or you want an opportunity. So you go out at that time and take the opportunity to give out 2 hand-me-downs and make people. You have old clothes that you, instead of going and give it to Salvation Army, you have to make a big thing, open a stall, and everybody come. You live in a village, in a society where you understand who really wants these things. So you don't have to go in a shop or on the side of the road and have people coming, and you stand up and you're nice, well dressed, and you're standing, come, I have these for you, giving handouts. So, for me, I think when you do things like that, it's the meaning. People are coming, they're coming because they really want you. But then the public go, I didn't even know she not got nothing. Look how she come.
Yeah, and it takes away from the good deed and the intention behind it.
It does. And people don't understand that. Photo ops are photo ops. They are for one purpose only, that is to praise the person who is giving. You don't do that, though.
I feel like we may never we won't be able to get rid of bullies altogether and bullying altogether, because some people are just so hurt that within themselves that they can't help but to hurt others. But Just like we would die without oxygen, I feel the same way when it comes to stories and gossip and rumors. Without oxygen, without giving any life to that by continuing to spread it, it will die. So, what I would say is instead of trying to turn haters into fans, work on how you yourself can actually deal with these things if and when they come along. And be that person where the story stops with you. If a story comes to you, it stops with you. Think about how you would feel if it were you. I always say it takes a lot of maturity to be able to stand there and say, I wonder how I would feel if this was me. Should I now pass this information along? Because sometimes that split second thought is all that we need to make a decision on whether we are going to assist in destroying someone's life or aid in helping that person to recover.
I know there's a young girl, beautiful young girl, but she doesn't feel like she's beautiful. Why? Because of the fact she's so beautiful, everybody hates her. Her classmates hate her. They don't like her because she's good looking. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't understand it's jealousy. She, in her mind, feels like she's ugly. One day she got herself all dressed up and she decided to do a photo shoot and take some pictures and posted it on social media. And the response, to the point people were showing that, just emojis of vomiting. And she came and she said, look, I said, you see, that's the problem. When you put yourself out there, you want people to define you. You want people to accept you. That is not the way to go. You have to find that strength within yourself. And these are people, young girls you coach on a daily basis because people feel so insecure because of how other people think that they look.
Yes.
I know this girl too. She started to gain weight because she had a problem. She had a medical issue and she couldn't understand what the problem is. She has thyroid problems. Her hair started to fall out. She was gaining weight. Her skin became blotchy and she became a recluse. Then she sat home and she ate everything there was to eat. And one day her mother told me, and she said, listen, I have a problem. My daughter, she just finds herself, and the doctor can't seem to find out what the problem is. They're thinking that maybe it's a thyroid problem, but they don't see, she's not on any treatment. So I went and I spoke to the young girl. Beautiful young girl, beautiful. I mean, people think that you are what you portray in the public. A beautiful face, long hair, well-made up person, and that's what you present to the public.
Yes.
When you go home and you take off all of that, you're faced with you, and within yourself, you're a beautiful person. The same person, when you're dressed up and all made up, that takes the stuff outside and you give, that is who you are, the giver. Not the presenter, the giver. And so you have to look within yourself and see, if you walk the same person, when you go down the road and you see a cat or a dog that, have been run over, and you run to that dog and cat, and you show that humane side of you and that empathy and you cry, that is who you are. Not the dressed up person that picked up the dog. You are who you are on the inside. There are a lot of people who do not take the time out to look and see who people are. They look to see what people look like. And I think that is one of the reasons why we have all these young people who are running to makeup at an early stage, because they're trying to hide the flaws that society sees.
Yes.
And not the person that is behind those flaws. And what are flaws? Flaws are what people think. It's relative. People always want to say, oh, you used to look that way. It's the same person. I was so sexy when I was growing up. Still is. I mean, a little more that you'll see. But, it was one of my... I remember when I got my son and I started to gain weight, I was devastated because I couldn't believe, because I exercise every day. I used to run from Central Bank all the way over to Majors Bay. And exactly, because he used to babysit for me while I took those drugs. And I used to do all of it. I played basketball, came home, played netball. Then I would, you at nights, you're still in there, you try to work out and exercise because you're fighting, because you want society to see you for who you were and not the changes that you'd have made. And, I think that the universe was kind of cruel to me, because I used to look at fat people and think, oh, they're lazy, they can do better than that. until it started to happen to me. And then I understand it's not that. You eat right, you exercise, and it's just not happening.
Yes.
But that doesn't change. But then when I listen to myself and I see the things that I do, I realize that I'm still there. The same old me that used to be there when I was slim, or when I got my son, when I gained weight. It's the same person, same compassion that you have. You do not change. Your physical appearance are going to change at one point in
Yes.
time. You are so beautiful, Jamal, and I look at you every day and I'm like, oh God, this girl is so. But one of these days, that beautiful
It can
piece of
change.
thing that people look at is going to change.
Yes.
But you would forever be that beautiful person, soft,
Yes.
caring kind of girl that you have always been.
But it's a conversation that we need to have with ourselves. And I think that when I hear you speak about your story, I think that that's what you managed to do very well. You stuck with the conversation, and you continued telling yourself the same thing. I'm Sandra, I know who I am, this is who I am, and the world won't define me. And I
Definitely.
think that that's what more people would really do better by starting to do. Really change the conversation that you're having with yourself about yourself. Tell yourself
Definitely.
good things. You know all of the great things that you've done. You know all of the impactful things that you've done. You know how many people out there are so happy that you are alive and that you cross paths with them and that they know you. You know all of these things about you. Think about these things. Focus on these things. And I think sometimes what happens is, and I've seen this, people will be so excited about something and they will run to social media and they get a few people, celebrating with them and making them feel good. And the moment that person comes in there with that negative comment, all of a sudden, that moment that you had that made you feel so good has now become fleeting because someone just injected themselves into the conversation and infiltrated it with something that now makes you wonder and doubt yourself and question if you did the right thing. Did you make the right decision? A few years back, my best friend in Canada, I had a tendency of every time we would be going out, I would ask her, how does this look? How does this outfit look? How does my hair look? How does, the shoes look? And over time, and she's very honest. And I thank God every day that he gave me what I looked at as the complete opposite of me. And she's extremely opinionated. And so she would always give her honest opinion. And one day she said, let me ask you a question. Why do you think I don't ask you how I look when we're going out? And I said, I know, you never ask me. She said, because I don't care.
Good.
And she wasn't trying to be mean. She said, I don't care because if I put it on, it's because it makes me feel good.
Good.
And if I have to ask you and your honest opinion is that you don't like it, I don't want that to change the moment that I'm experiencing feeling good about myself. And when she told me that, it stuck with me. And I said, this is what I need to start practicing. And I practiced it until it just became a part of who I was. And sometimes that's what we need. I often say we can't do what we don't know. We can't teach what we've never been taught. And the world is full of education outside of a classroom. And this is where I also say finding the right people to surround ourselves with is so important.
It's true.
Because there's so many people out there that are going to be hell-bent on either breaking you or making you conform to what their idea of society's norm would be. And I think there's nothing more powerful than being able to live outside of society's traditions and to be able to just stand in your own truth, walk your own path, and like you said, with choices, be prepared to stand firmly behind the choices that you make, come what may.
And that's, you've made a good statement there. You talk about a friend asking, why you don't think I don't ask you? Because there's sometimes, I remember when I just started to gain weight, I used to hide. I used to wear big clothes, dark colored clothing, because you wanted to conceal it, because you were afraid that the world is going to look at you, the transformation that you would have gone through, or you move from this to what they feel, because I never move from this to that. I'm always this. And I remember we went out, and my sister, she was telling me, when I had on the short dress, she said, hey, you got on baby doll, you showing off your legs. But you remember, just slim as you were before, huh? I was devastated. But it was a joke because we always pull those hard jokes. But I went home and I started to ask myself, I should not have done that. But I wanted to be rebellious. And in my being rebellious is I started shopping for those same little short dresses because, and the tight ones because I just wanted, and it became, then I said, you know what? To hell with what anybody wants to feel. I am going to put on whatever I want to put on. I wear whatever I want to wear. And it was that rebellious attitude that I wanted to force myself into believing that I don't care what the public says. And until one of these days you sit face to face with yourself and realize that if you try to please everybody, you're going to find yourself in a problem. Because you come out in this and you say, oh, you look nice. You come out, someone will say, so why you chose to wear that? Another person would say, I like blue instead of black. Why wearing black? Black is, for me, so make you feel like something is so wrong. And everybody has your opinion. And you walk out your house being what everybody wants you to be. And you leave yourself behind. And you operate in that falsehood of what people want you to be. And you forget who you are. And then you live a lie, and I can't live a lie. That's why my friends are few. I love everybody, and I get along, but people's opinion mean absolutely nothing to me. And my friends know that. Yes. So don't even tell me what you feel. Keep your opinion to yourself. I always say that because I really don't care how you feel about it.
And the thing is, that circle of people that really love you and care about you, they are so protective.
Yeah.
And they will pick and choose very carefully and select what they decide to bring into your world regarding information. Because I always say, as a friend, not everything that I hear about my friend is worthy of me sharing with my friend about them. If it's not going to be a detriment to their health, their livelihood, their career, their reputation, there is absolutely no reason for me to tell my friend someone down the street said that she's unattractive. There's no reason for me to put that into her mind, to make her think about that for even a second, because I don't think that of her. She doesn't think that of herself. And that's the space that we want to continue living in. And exactly. I think that's sometimes just kind of keeping yourself in, not shielding yourself in a bubble, but kind of having that safety of knowing that even though the world is talking, the talk isn't affecting you.
Yeah, and I think that is where it's supposed to go. The effects of what people think should not have any that kind of negative effect on you, because people have a right, and it's something I learned earlier, that people have a right to their opinion. Yes. I don't have to hear every opinion. Sometimes you don't hear what people are saying, but if you want to, because you're so insecure, you walk out. I was very shy, not insecure. I was very shy, and I felt I couldn't take that step. And I didn't like the attention. So when people start looking at me, it made me very nervous. Not because, I don't understand what it was, but I was just so shy. Could talk myself out of any situation, but could not present myself. Because I don't know.
Yes.
You put on something and you think that you look, oh my gosh, in the mirror you look awesome, but you were afraid to go out because you didn't want the public's opinion about how you look, because you wanted to wear it and you don't want somebody to tell you, oh, it didn't look good, because then you won't want to wear it again. And early o'clock at 14, 15, I remember the first time I wore lipstick. My brother met me in College Street and he said, what happened to you, girl? Somebody bust you out? And I was so and jeans. I couldn't wear jeans because for me it was just so revealing. And so see me dress up in my nice jean pants, my off the shoulder blouse, and my lipstick going down College Street, feeling so like, oh, I'm so afraid of what people are going to think, because it was a step out. And here comes my brother, somebody who you hope would say, girl, you look so good. He said, what happened to your mouth, girl? Somebody boxing your mouth. I had some napkin, and I with Dad using that to wipe my tears and take the lipstick off, and then went back home. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. And I missed out on everything that was happening. Yes. It was during the carnival time. Yes. And I wanted to see the troops and everything. But I couldn't go because I felt like,
but as funny as that story is, that's exactly what happens when people do that to you on a small scale or even on a large scale on social media. They I think that they steal that moment from you. And that's the saddest part, is that you allowed them to take a moment from you that made you feel good, where you could have experienced something, and they stole that from you. And I think that we need to just, like I said, we won't be able to get rid of all of the bullies, but I think if we change our mindsets about ourselves, then we would be able to combat that a bit more. Tune them out, turn them off. the same power that you have switching a computer screen or your phone screen or your laptop or iPad on, it's the same power you have to switch it off.
Definitely, it's true.
Turn it off. I've seen people go through an entire day and don't eat, don't clean, don't sleep, don't do anything, completely forgot that they had a life to live because they're scrolling through their phone trying to find something that pierces through the negative stuff and makes them feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
How you feel shouldn't be coming from how many likes you get on a photograph or how many comments someone makes about something that you posted anywhere. And if you're going to be constantly scrolling through negative comments and trying to find that flower among the weeds to make yourself feel better, you are setting yourself up for an extremely depressing life.
It's true. And so, when I responded this morning in the negative and wanted to really curse out that bully, Facebook decided, no, this is called bullying, and they give me a warning, which I find was so unfair because I want to know, how come they didn't see what the person was saying to me? Mm-hmm. But now Facebook can start. But I was grateful. You know why? Because I was becoming somebody that I'm not.
Yes.
And so in retrospect, when I sat down and I look at it, I'm saying, thank you, Facebook. Thank you for stopping me from bullying and saying what I wanted to say, because I was really going down a path that later on, knowing who I am, would have consulted myself and said, you should not have done that.
Yes.
And look what they made you do. Mm-hmm. They didn't. And look at the choice that you make. And why did you do something like that when you know who you are?
That is the satisfaction that a bully gets as well, because a lot of the times they sit back and they're waiting. They're anxiously and patiently waiting for you to retaliate and respond, because what they want is now something to justify what they've just said by going, look, see, I told you this person was A, B, C, D. I told you this person was, loud-mouthed and she had this character and that character. Look at how she's talking to me now. And that is what people are going to now focus on. Like you just said, why didn't Facebook see what the person did? They just saw your reaction to their actions. And that's the world that we live in, unfortunately. People will focus on you hitting back and forget about the fact that you were hit first.
Yeah, and that's we're out of time just about. So sometimes you have to really look and see whether or not, it's not the things that people say about you, it's your reaction that proves that what they're saying is right.
Yes.
And I came to that conclusion this morning that sometimes you have to look at the marks that you would have made in life. You have to look at the steps that you have taken and the position from whence you came and the position that you're hoping to achieve. And by becoming that kind of person on Facebook or social media, it retards growth. And we have to realize that, because when you are, words, expressions says a lot about you. Sometimes in anger, you blurt things out, but in reflection after that, you would have done that. When you have that one-on-one reflection of the things that you would have done, the places where you want to go, and you realize that you allowed people to bring you back to the position that you have already made, the progress that you've already made in life, then you said, boy, how stupid could I have gotten? But it's not everybody who's like me, who isn't built to break. There's some people who are different, and words and what people's opinion means a lot to them. It helps them. It's a propeller. It's the ladder that they climb based on what people would think. And that is why they try their best to be a good person. And the haters out there doesn't understand, because you have nowhere to go in life. I mean, they, for me, are like parasites. They live from the negativity of how people see others, and they live for that. And because of them is why the world is such a miserable place. And when you stoop and you listen to their conversation and you realize that your opinions and things that they say affects you, then you're not making those strides that you really want to make. And it's a sad thing.
I think what I would say to anyone, and even to myself, is let's all just try to work on having better self-control. If you are that person who is a bully, not every thought that crosses your mind is worthy of leaving your lips or going onto the internet. So think about the things that you're putting out there. Try to have more self-control. And for the people who are victims of this kind of thing and want to retaliate, practice having more self-control. there is nothing that disappoints me more within myself than allowing a situation or a person or a moment to take me outside of who I know I am by either blowing up or saying things I know I didn't really mean. Nothing disappoints me more in myself than really going outside of my character because I felt like I was being attacked. And I have, even with myself, I have to try to practice self-control. We're all a work in progress. But just because someone throws a stone, it doesn't mean you have to go back into the archives and find all of their mistakes to throw two back. Because what you're doing is proving them right. You're bringing yourself down to their level instead of elevating yourself above that. And I think the best way to combat these things is to just be better. And you can be better by just doing better. If someone starts a rumor about you, it could be your best friend who knows everything about you. If you know things about that person, don't bring up everything that you know about that person and start putting it out there. Because now you're giving oxygen to that story and you're just going to have it continue and go on and on and on. When you could have just killed it by going, this is what this person said. I know that this isn't true about me. I'm just going to leave it there. There's no need for me to respond. That's why I think sometimes the best response is absolutely having no response at all to certain things.
This is true, and I'm leaving now because my time is up. But there's a better you on the inside, and we always have to make sure that we go back to that better you and bring that better you out. So when people, just like you said, when people would have thrown one stone, it didn't hit you. And that's the good thing about it. And you just watch it sail by, and you don't have to be like them. Because when you respond in the negative, you've become like them.
Yes.
And mark my words, those of you who are listening to me, it's when you do these things, people's opinion has totally no effect on you. You are what you feel you are. If somebody says something negative about you, it can only affect you if you allow it to. So what people say about you doesn't affect you. You allow them to affect you. So you make that conscious decision that people have a right to say whatever they want because you sometimes say what you want to. And so you just don't ever let what people say mean anything to you.
And the way that you lift yourself up, remember this, the way you pick yourself back up is not by tearing the other person down.
So true. We are out of time and we are infringing. It always comes down to this, where we just get into it. And you, like I said, you're my co-host. You have one more week here, and then next week, that. I think you're leaving when?
Yes, I have one more.
Oh, so you're gonna come back one more time? Yeah, and we can talk about it. And she's my co-host. I can't say guest anymore because she's here so often. But there's so much to say, and we have it here in our small island. The world is looking at us in the way in which we control things, the way in which our economy is growing, the way how we've controlled COVID. Let us get the world's attention to show that we are not a nation or a country that bickers or try to pull down the other. We are a country that try to uplift others when they're down. And that would make us basically something to look at.
We would be very unique.
Small but tallow. My name is Sandra Quilliaget, and it's Friday. It's a beautiful Friday, but yet still we have to be still have to be aware of the fact that COVID-19 is a reality, and we are trying our best to combat the effects of what the virus can have on us. They're saying vaccinate, don't hesitate, vaccinate, get yourself out there. If that's what you feel like you have to do, do it. Don't think twice about it. Those of you who are still thinking, you have a right to do that, but at the end of the day, what makes the world go round is sometimes you have to make decisions that you don't really want to make, but based on circumstances, you just have to do that. Yeah. It's a world that we hope to live in, and we have to make it a better place. So whatever you're going to do this weekend, make sure you adhere to all of the protocols, because the life that you save might very well be your own. Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9. It's Voices. That's the program that is up next.